So as you can see, I've been doing some drifting at Tsukuba Circuit in Japan. I don't know if it's a good angle. The camera's kind of blocked. I'm trying to get the view of the pedals as I'm adjusting the camera right now. I need it pointed down pretty low. And I will get into my new steering wheel settings. However, I can't compare the old settings to the new settings because they changed the physics in Gran Turismo. So if there's an improvement, I can't tell if it's the wheel or the physics change. And onto driving. Then I'll show the wheel settings at the end. Hopefully you can see my feet. My gloves. Alright. Alright, and drive. Oh, the settings first. Actually, I'm going to show the car settings first. Oh, I can't do that in this video. I'll do another video for the car settings. As you can see, this was unplanned. Because it's hard to show anything on the screen with this camera angle. Well, now I'm starting to drifting poorly. How about I do a couple more laps? As you can see, I can smash the throttle, and it's controllable now. I don't know if it was that way before, but it is now. Handbrake. Okay. I'm having a little bit of difficulty here. Let's see if I can just focus and get a good lap in. Add more power, I might be able to drift that little kink. Should be able to Scandinavian flick into the turn, full throttle drifts. A little bit of a wobble on the exit. Not too fast. I swear I can drift. It's not right now for some reason. Got a little camera shy, maybe. Scandinavian flick here. Still have to be delicate on the throttle, don't too much angle. As you can see, I was giving it too much throttle through the turn. Too fast again. I just got home from work, so please bear with me. Full throttle out of the exit. It's alright. Definitely can't drift in force, or can't drift in force there. Need to figure out the brake zones. Alright, time to focus. Last corner, new lap. Nope. Just didn't balance the throttle properly through the apex. A little bit too fast on entry, so I did the wide off apex drift. Yeah, brake around here maybe. I'm not getting enough drift on the brakes. It's just difficult because the brake bias doesn't go back far enough. So I have to really Scandinavian flick the car into the corner. Should be able to drift from there all the way into this corner. Max on steering lock at the apex. And full throttle exit. Let's see if I can just left foot brake here. Get it slowed down. Try to do an early Scandinavian flick and pulled out of it. I'm pushing third anyway instead of fourth. That's full throttle. A little bit of a lift to regain grip. A little bit fast at the apex, so I went wide at the exit. To go much slower with these comfort medium tires. Brake early. I would like to get it rotating on the brakes. Oh, with my higher max torque setting for the game. Everything's shaking on my desk now while I do this. Slow down, Scandinavian flick. Not really, mostly just throttle oversteer. Not quite full throttle drift at the exit. Brake. A little bit wide. It's a little bit difficult. It's doable though. Still entering into the first corner with too much speed. I would like to handbrake drift. I just need to get a handbrake. Right now I have it mapped to my R2 button, which is right by my thumb. Sloppy. Oops. Just opted to not drift to that corner. Brake early here. So my conclusion, at least with the comfort tires, these are comfort mediums. I have not tried the softs or the hards. Let's see if I can get this last turn in. Full throttle here. There we go. There's a good drift out of the last turn. Anyway, drifting with the comfort tires is very doable. Now, to show the settings, I'm going to take this off the mount. Let's see if I can do this without pressing the power button. Where is that supposed to turn? There we go. Okay, still recording, good. The settings, I'm on set 2. Set 1 is my previous settings. See if I can get this focused onto this screen here. Sensitivity is auto, that's the steering lock to lock setting. So it automatically sets based on the car in the game. Feedback is at 100%. That's the total force that's capable in the wheel. So since I have the brake booster kit, not the brake booster kit, I do have that. I have the 8 Newton meter kit for the power supply. It goes to 8 Newton meters. The scale, what was the last one? Feedback, okay. The scale, it's at peak so that it'll go to the 8 Newton meters and also go down to minimum, which is 0, right? So it goes to peak setting as opposed to linear, which I don't know what that feels like yet. I like peak. Natural damper, I have this set to 4 because I don't want the steering forces damped if it's unnecessary. So in certain games it might be necessary, but in Gran Turismo and Assetto Corsa and not Dirt Rally, but what's the game? WRC10, I don't need the damper, natural damper. Natural friction is at 100%. So this compensates for the natural damper. Because what I used to do with old wheels was I'd turn up the damper because there was no friction setting. And this friction essentially simulates scrub radius. So scrub radius, you can look that up, but it's dependent on the wheel arc path based on the kingpin angle and position and the center of the tire. But there's also more than just the center of tire position that needs to be simulated, but also the tire width and grip on the tire. So this natural friction at 100% gives me the best, what am I talking about again? Scrub radius feel. That in most games is set everything to 100% basically. Okay, natural inertia, that's the drift assist in the CSL Elite, and it's not an assist in this at this point. It's more like caster simulation, in that set to 100, it feels like real caster instead of weak caster. Or like, so if you drive a go-kart, I don't know if you've ever driven a go-kart before, and I'm not talking about indoor go-karts or rental carts. I'm talking about like own your own cart. You can set the caster, and what the caster essentially does is it self-aligns the wheel, so that if the cart or car is sliding, the front wheels will point in the direction that the cart is sliding. The car or cart is sliding, and what this setting does is it helps it to do that. What is it called again? Yeah. It's called natural inertia, and that when it's set to 0, it doesn't feel correct to me in most cars, especially this car, the Genesis. But at 100, it feels correct. And so anyway, with a go-kart, you'd reduce the caster because the steering force would be too high, right? So if you have someone with weak arms, or if you're doing a long endurance go-kart race, you would reduce the caster so that the steering force would be softer. But the cars that I'm going to be driving in the Sims are supposed to have power steering, so I can have higher casters in the sim. Anyway, I'm droning on about this. This is just for caster simulation, and it feels right at 100. What is this? And this is according to the manual, this does the peak force limiter. So at 11, that's the default peak force limiter. So it doesn't have a spike in the force of the force feedback. Right? If there's like a flaw in the force feedback that causes a very high spike in the graph, then I've talked about this before. Force. This is a force multiplier based on what's capable in the game. So I can reduce the force down to 0, or I can go to 120 at maximum. That basically just it helps with the center force feel. Center force. So the center force is when the steering wheel is in the center, right here, where it's at the top of the steering position, right? And so if it's really low, you get lower maximum force, but also you get lower center steering force. Anyway, and then spring, it used to be at 120, now it's down to 0. So the spring is a centering spring. It's not just a spring feel. It's a spring to the center of steering, which is again what I'm talking about when the steering wheel is vertical, straight up and down, just like it is. And what that does is if it's really high, or if it is a significant amount, it will actually counteract the caster forces that are simulated in the game. So I want the spring force off. So I have maximum caster simulation. And same with the damper, I have this set to off as well, and the natural damper is really low. Again, I don't want the damper, it resists all movement. It's not just the movement that you input into the wheel, but also the movement of the caster forces, which are the most important forces in giving the steering wheel any force feedback. So I don't want to damp or spring out the caster forces. Brake level is for, this is for the brake vibrator thing that is on a different pedal set that I don't have. Shock vibration. It feels really weird when it's on. It amplifies the road noise feel. So if there's a lot of bumps in the road, you can feel it in the wheel even when it's off. But if I turn it up all the way, it feels really gross, and I don't like the feeling of the road bumps that are still on there, and it feels pretty realistic and off, in my opinion. And then brake force, I have it. That's the load cell. It's at 55, and then set to. And that's it. Is that it? There's something else I feel like I'm missing. Brake damper, spring, force. Oh, this one. Did I skip this? Natural inertia. I talked about this. Is the caster. Oh, so not that one. This one. I don't know what that stands for. But FEI, whatever this is very important. That's one of the main things I was going to talk about that I skipped over. This is the fidelity of the force feedback forces. So if this was at 100, it would be exact one-to-one forces simulated from the game. And I have it set to 0, which is that's the smoothest force curve that the software can allow, and that it filters through the wheel, basically. So there's direct forces coming from the sim that go into the wheel, and the wheel filters it to be a smoother curve. A curve meaning on a graph, the lines would be smooth instead of jagged, right? And so what this does is when you turn the wheel to its maximum slip point, it causes the wheel to like vibrate like this, right? That's coming from the game. That's not just a feature of this wheel. And so by having it at 0, it reduces that to just like a minor little kind of bumpy feeling in the steering wheel, which honestly I would like it to be. I'd like to completely turn it off, which in the game, which it won't. There's no setting to turn off that setting. What am I trying to say? There's no setting in the game that can turn off the feature of the wheel vibration at maximum front understeer slip. So when the front tires are understeering and you're surpassing the maximum grip of the tires in the corner, that's what it starts doing the shaky thing. And having it at 0 completely smooths out the curve so it doesn't do that as much. Anyway, these settings allow me to drift. Again, I think a lot of it might have been from, hang on, let me turn this off. Might have been from the updates. So I'm going to do some replay. Maybe I could get a good thumbnail here. Zoom in, zoom out. Okay, hang on. I want to get the Gran Turismo logo in there. Oh, that's not a good thumbnail. Let it play a little bit. Maybe I get a car close up. There's a pretty good close up. I think that's a little too close. Maybe I should get an angle or a still of the tire smoke. Too bad that wasn't a clean drift. There we go. That was a good one. I think that's my thumbnail. And that's it. Till the next one.